More than 600 Iron Range steel workers out of work as the auto industry cuts orders because of tariffs. Now, it's no surprise that a ton of steel and iron industry is going to take a huge impact because of the tariffs. So, a lot of people are bracing for impact. Now, the goal of these tariffs was actually to create jobs because it would help prevent importing goods from other countries. However, this has had the opposite effect, and we're seeing workers out of work because of these tariffs. So the auto industry is going to take a big hit. There was a month delay on the tariffs for the auto industry, but right now a lot of people are taking action, and especially a lot of dealerships. They're trying to sell as much cars as they can now because they know that the car prices are going to rise, and this is going to anger consumers when it does rise. It's going to also affect dealerships because they're not going to have as high of a profit margin because all that cost is going to be passed on to the consumer. And our anticipation is that the used car market, as we saw with the pandemic, is going to go crazy. But in the case for the steelworkers, there are more than 600 Iron Range steelworkers that will be out of a job as mines that supply the struggling auto industry go offline. Cleveland Cliffs will temporarily idle two Minnesota operations. The Hibbing Taconite Company in Hibbing and the Minorca Mine in Virginia. So the Ohio-based company, North America's largest producer of flat-rolled steel, has notified the state of the upcoming layoffs. But they're claiming that these are temporary changes that are needed to rebalance working capital and consume excess pellet inventory produced in 2024. But as we mentioned earlier, it's going to have an impact on cars. So if you're looking to buy a car in the next few months, you want to do that right now. If we take a look at the consumer price index for used cars and trucks in the United States, we can see that before the pandemic, car prices for used vehicles were at a low point. Then, when new car manufacturers stopped producing new cars, it trickled down to the used car market, and we saw the spike during 2021 and 2022. Since then, it has decreased because manufacturers have ramped up automobile production, but we're going to see this rise again because of the tariffs. It's going to be more expensive for manufacturers to produce cars, and all that cost is going to be passed on to the consumer. And what are cars mostly made of? They're made of steel. So we're seeing the steel have an impact on many industries. The automobile industry is going to be impacted a huge amount because almost everyone needs a car, whether it be for transportation or getting to see the grocery store. And most of all, it's to commute to work to actually make an income. So if you're holding onto a vehicle right now, you probably want to hold on to it. Trading in your vehicle within the next few months is going to be very costly because just prices are going to go up. And this mining company says that it may exceed 6 months. Mining is the backbone of the Iron Range, employing thousands of workers and shoring up the regional economy. It's also a political wedge, pushing the historically Democratic stronghold to the right as division grows between those who rely on jobs that the mines provide. With any sort of layoffs, it's very disappointing and devastating because it not only affects these employees, it affects anyone that depend on them, and that includes the affected families from the Iron Range. The mayor of Virginia says that a representative from Cleveland Cliffs assured him it was temporary, but couldn't give a timeline for idling beyond when the steel prices get better. So they're planning on re-employing these employees when the market conditions recover and get better. But of course, we know that this is going to have a long-term impact. Any sort of bad news and devastation is labeled as temporary because we don't want people to panic. The worst thing people can do is panic because panicking really does not solve anything. These workers, however, will receive unemployment and subsidized pay through their union. So we do have to go into the financials of why they're actually laying off. So the company reported $400 million in losses in the fourth quarter of 2025. Now that's a huge loss. And with these upcoming tariffs, they are bracing for impact as they're temporarily closing the mine. We have to understand that companies do have to make a profit in order to stay in business. It can be quite comforting with our salaries that we have because we don't have that up and down profit and loss that business owners have to deal with. Because our income is relatively flat, we get a flat salary or a flat hourly rate most of the time. And it really is the business owners that are taking all the risk. Sure, some companies are making record profits, but a lot of them do end up having to take losses some years just because the profits were not economically good. So this is very difficult for the workers, their families, and our entire Iron Range community. Mining isn't just industry here, it's a way of life. When our steel workers hurt, we all hurt. So this is going to have a chain effect. These employees are going to lose their jobs, lose their income, and as consumers of automobiles, we're also going to see increased prices. If you're looking to buy a car, now is the best time. However, if you don't need your car anymore, you should hold off for a few months and wait until the car prices increase. Then you can sell your car at a higher price.